addicts, punks, now seeing the light.
The making of the record was where we all really got our egos out of the way.
Our chemistry was firing on all cylinders.
With Blood Sugar Sex Magik, the Red Hot Chili Peppers traded exhibition for introspection.
It wasn't about socks on the end of their penises.
I think the band really found their voice.
The album took a leap from their previous work and catapulted them skywards.
They were sort of going in a direction that nobody else had really touched on.
It just hit everybody, and they just couldn't get enough of it.
Right place, right time, right.
But the tidal wave of popularity proved too much for the group.
You can't help but become a member of the acquired situational narcissism society.
I really isolated myself from everybody else.
I don't ever wanna be like I did that day.
Probably the unhappiest time of my life.
More than a decade later, the album's influence still looms large.
They managed to capture what is now called rap rock.
They were one of the breakthrough bands for that genre.
I still turn to that album to try to find inspiration.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers' Blood Sugar Sex Magik is an ultimate album.
It just is never going to go away.
Made to suck my kiss.
Four funky pseudo-punks threw down the gauntlet in 1991 and got the music world's attention.
Music is so filled with so much passion and anger and aggression and sadness and love.
It's about rapture and ecstasy and going inside and finding out who you are.
Totally ignoring stylistic boundaries, the Red Hot Chili Peppers' Blood Sugar Sex Magik mixed a blend of different genres.
It wasn't like you could put a label on it. You know, it's this or it's that. It's a mixture of a lot of different stuff.
It was on the cutting edge of hip-hop, rap, rock, fusion, alternative.
This was rap with guitars. Probably, one of the first rap rock bands, which is huge now. And I think that they were one of the breakthrough bands for that genre. I think they really tried to present something that's unique and innovative. They just had that explosive energy that counteracted whatever malaise was going on in American psyche.
9 million fans lapped up the homebrew of old-school funk, hip-hop and soul-bearing ballads, as Blood Sugar's freaky and unusual sound connected in different camps.
The jocks were listening to it, the hot stuck-up chicks were listening to it, the rappers were listening to it, the metalheads were listening to it, the stoners were listening to it. You're just like, whoa.
Blood Sugar Sex Magik was conceived in a spiritual summer, where a convergence of blissful vibes guided a band of brothers to their greatest musical success.
What's foremost in my mind is the love that we had in our band between all of us and the connection of all of our spirits.
We all would just, in a really mellow sort of state of mind, just be jamming and listening to each other. We were spiritually in tune and tapped into something really beautiful.
It was here, in a haunted Hollywood mansion, that the Peppers made a statement of maturity, a groove-filled evolution from public nudity to bare emotion.
It wasn't about gimmick, and it wasn't about being outrageous, and it wasn't about socks on the end of their penises.
This was them on their road to enlightenment, addicts, punks, now seeing the light.
The road to Blood Sugar Sex Magik was long, loud, and for the most part, a crazy journey. From their first gig in 1983, Misfits Anthony Kiedis, Hillel Slovak, Jack Irons and Michael Flea Bolzeri stirred up an LA punk scene phenomenon.
They were playing at this stinky hall that had like folding chairs. I remember just walking in and then I watched them do their thing, which was just, you know, very magnetic even for like 20 people in the audience.
The Chili's blistering live sets quickly built up interest, and in 1984 they were signed by EMI. But early attempts at capturing their on-stage chemistry proved futile. 1984's self-titled debut, 85's Freaky Styly, and 87's Uplift Mofo Party Plan made only modest sales.
Every time we ever went to the studio to make a record before, it was always like, okay, this is the record. You know, we got to do it really good, and we kind of tense up, and really it would be kind of stiff.
When we made Freaky Styly, we thought that we were going to change the world with that record. And I think we changed a small suburb in Idaho.
In 1988, studio frustration took a back seat to tragedy. Hillel Slovak's death from a heroin overdose devastated the band. A disheartened Jack Irons left his drum throne shortly afterwards. Childhood friends Anthony and Flea were devastated, but opted to carry on.
Flea and I always insisted on moving forward, you know. I believed in him, he believed in me, you know, we had each other. That was enough to keep moving.
But almost as quickly as tragedy tore the band apart, destiny pieced it back together. The two remaining Peppers met a teenage guitar virtuoso named John Frusciante.
John Frusciante came into our band, and he was an incredibly potent and powerful musician, and changed Anthony and I's lives forever.
He is perfectly non-judgmental. Anything that comes to you, he believes is meant to be, and, you know, comes from a beautiful place, and he wants to work with it. That's it.
That's great.
Weeks later, fate struck again, when a muscular drummer, Chad Smith, wandered into the Chili fold.
Chad's great for playing with Flea, and Flea's great for playing with Chad. So, you know, all things considered, as a rhythm section, they're just amazing.
Revitalized, the Peppers released Mother's Milk in 1989. Driven by a revved-up version of Stevie Wonder's Higher Ground, the album nudged the cult act towards the mainstream.
Mother's Milk sold 8 times more records than all of our other records ever combined had sold. Someone called us up and said, hey, Mother's Milk just went gold. And we're like, what's gold? How many records is that? What are you talking about, gold? What does that mean? That sounds good.
Despite the apparent breakthrough success of Mother's Milk, philosophical differences with EMI soured their relationship with the label.
We felt that EMI really didn't have a clue what to do with the Chili Peppers.
They may as well have been, you know, car salesmen. And that's not a diss to car salesmen, but if you're in the music business, then you should be sensitive to music instead of cars.
After 5 years and 4 albums, the Chili Peppers left EMI. Mother's Milk had hinted at future greatness, and labels wanted in. A heated bidding war ensued, and Warner Brothers emerged victorious. Good fortune was again smiling on the hard-bitten Chili's. Having found a new home, the band was re-energized and poised to make an album that would trump Mother's Milk.
Because we had had so much experience not really succeeding in the studio, We were really set on getting it right this time.
But they needed a visionary producer to shepherd them to greatness. Rick Rubin topped their shortlist. The Chili's asked the maestro behind Run DMC, Beastie Boys and Public Enemy to help them.
What Rick Rubin does as a producer is that he lets you be you. He's able to pick a place for you that you'll be comfortable with, that you wouldn't see for yourself.
It wasn't the first time the band had approached Rubin. The Peppers asked him to produce 1987's Uplift Mofo Party Plan, but the bearded one declined. He was turned off by the atmosphere surrounding the freewheeling Party Boys.
He came by our rehearsal studio and met us, and it was kind of a weird time in our band.
Just the way they looked at each other, there was just, you could tell that there was distrust in the air.
And I think it was sort of a dark kind of drug cloud over us.
I remember that experience really feeling like, you know, I hope these guys get it together.
1, 2, 3, 4.
But in 1991, Rubin saw a different band. The Peppers had begun shedding their adolescent angst and were ready to grow both musically and spiritually.
These guys were loving life and on top of their game and ready to do whatever it took to make a great record.
Rubin signed on to record what would become Blood Sugar Sex Magik. The final piece was in place.
It was like God saying, I'm going to set everything up for you perfectly to do this. Rick is going to come into the picture, who is a great, great producer. You're all going to be, you know, in a situation where you can really focus and play music. And we did it.
We just felt like we were going to really do something special.
1989's album Mother's Milk had positioned the Red Hot Chili Peppers just south of stardom. But 2 years later, visionary producer Rick Rubin unified the band's sound in his own unique way.
He's like this guy that will come to your rehearsal and sort of lay down on the couch with his big-ass beard and appear to take a nap, you know, and you'll just go on playing for hours while your producer's napping. But meanwhile, you know, he is absorbing every note and every arrangement and every lyrical concept, you know, like a friggin' sponge.
I do like to lay on the couch, and I do like to listen more than speak most of the time.
In the spring of 1991, Rubin and the Chili Peppers convened to create the groundbreaking album Blood Sugar Sex Magik.
We wrote, and it just kept happening, and it felt easy and fun, and there was no pressure.
It started to be just about how together we can really do something wonderful, and we were just always excited to hear what the other one was coming up with.
Having the right recording environment was as important as the music itself to producer Rick Rubin.
Thought to find a place that was like a home where everybody could live, and there'd be good music playing and good food playing, and their friends could come visit. And reframe the music-making experience so that it wasn't just another album.
In May 1991, producer Rick Rubin booked the Red Hot Chili Peppers into a Hollywood mansion. Folklore has it that silent film icon Rudolph Valentino lived there in the 20s. Gangsters used it as a hideout in the 30s. And in the 60s, rock stars came to party like, well, rock stars.
It's got such a history to it. Jimi Hendrix supposedly stayed here, the Beatles, and there used to be shackles and stuff on the wall, and I don't know what was going on with that, but maybe they used it for pornos, for bondage or something.
Rick Rubin proved to be the perfect host. For the next 8 weeks, the band's necessities will be covered.
It was the first time in my life I had someone get me to cook. every night we'd get together and sit down at this big table down there and have this huge dinner and then go rock out and roll tape. I mean, it was just like heaven.
As the Peppers moved in and chose their rooms, one of them stumbled upon some former residents who'd refused to leave.
I picked this one room. I went up in there. I'm like, okay, this looks pretty good. And I walked into the bathroom, and it was really, really cold. I was looking like, is there a window open, or what's up? And it just felt kind of weird. So I walked out.
Chad was like, well, I'll be going home.
At first, we were pissed off at Chad because he wouldn't stay here with us. There's 8 bedrooms in this place, and we all had our space, and Chad was just like, no way.
I know the other guys go, Chad, he's a pussy, he's a scaredy cat. It's not true. Not because I'm a chicken or scared of the ghosts. That's not what it is.
Chad was scared.
But Anthony, Flea and John refused to be spooked out of the house.
I was not going anywhere. I never went in any cars anywhere. I was just staying here. It was a world of love for me. I was like, oh my God, we are living the ultimate dream.
Secure in their splendid surroundings, the Chili's got to work. Flea, John and Chad jammed endlessly, while Anthony freestyled on the mic. Spontaneous brainstorming proved the impetus for many of Blood Sugar's magical tracks.
I had been thinking about this concept, which was the more you give, the more you actually receive.
Give it away, give it away, give it away now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now.
Give It Away was a celebration of selflessness, inspired by a gift from one of Anthony's ex-girlfriends, Nina Hagen.
I was pauper poor. And I was like, that's your leather jacket, I can't. She's like, oh, no, please take it. She said, I'll be happier you taking it than not taking it. This idea was tornadoing in my head.
Give it away, give it away, give it away now.
And that tornado just started, coming out of my mouth.
Give it away, give it away now. Oh, yeah.
Anthony from the get-go was give it away, give it away, give it away now. He was doing that over it.
Give it away now.
We stopped the jam and I was like, that sounds pretty good to me. He's like, I love that vocal, I love that vocal. You gotta, whatever we do with this song, you have to keep that vocal. And I was like, well, definitely, I'm with you on that.
Give It Away wasn't a stylistic revelation for the Peppers, but it was a giant step towards conquering new musical and emotional ground. But the biggest breakthrough was in the pages of Anthony's journal. A recovering heroin addict, Anthony had written a poem about the life he was leaving behind.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. Sometimes I feel like my only friend is the city I live in, the city of angels. Lonely as I am, together we cry.
I'm driving and I just started singing to myself, as perhaps a way to try to feel a little better.
I drive on the streets 'cause she's my companion.
I get home and I liked what I was singing, so I taped part of it and started finishing this poem.
Kiedis dismissed Under the Bridge as too tame for the Chili's. That is until Rick Rubin came knocking.
And I asked him about it, and he said, oh, that's, it's just something I wrote for myself. It's not a Chili Pepper song.
I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day. Take me to the place I love. Take me all the way.
And he's like, you gotta take that in. You gotta show that to the guys. And I'm like, I don't know if this is really gonna fit in with everything else we're doing.
Take me all the way.
I said, well, if you wrote it and you think it's good, then it is the Chili Pepper song.
So Rick convinced me to take this into rehearsal, and I did. And I said, I got to show you this thing. It's an idea for a song. I'm so nervous to actually try to sing this thing.
It's hard to believe there's nobody out there.
Behind the closed doors of their Hollywood mansion, Anthony unlocked his emotions.
Lonely as I am, together we cry.
It was really like you were just seeing deeply into this personal, deep inner sadness.
I don't ever wanna be like I did that day.
He sang it to us and we thought it was beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful pieces of music we ever heard.
They just kind of gave me an approving look and got up and, walked over to their instruments and just started finding what they wanted to do with that song.
When it came to the ending, the Peppers were clueless. With nowhere to turn, John called his mum.
John's mom came in with, I think, people from her church group and sang back to the background vocals, "Under the bridge downtown." That was trippy, seeing all these women out there on them, "Under the bridge downtown." It just seemed so crazy, and it worked out so great.
It was like the angels were closing the record. And isn't it great to have the angels close a record that was spawned by the devil?
Inside that haunted Hollywood mansion, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were undergoing a makeover in the spring of 1991, with producer Rick Rubin presiding over events.
Our whole concept was, let's go live in this house, and let's go live and breathe this music and have no distractions and focus on nothing but this music and see what we do.
The Funky Quartet boldly explored untapped creative possibilities, where hip-hop hedonism was pushed aside in favor of more harmonic convergence. During one session, guitarist John Frusciante began toying with a swirling melody. Anthony was intrigued.
He said, "This is what I have. If you like it, you can use it." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I like that. That sounds good. I want to sing that." And so I went and wrote lyrics for that vocal melody.
The song was about the emotional fallout of a shattered relationship. He called it Breaking the Girl.
It was trippy, and it certainly felt different than every other song we had. And it was a very melodic type tune, and it was kind of a challenge for me because our music hadn't been that melodically driven in the past.
For Breaking the Girl's thumping climax, the Chili Peppers went heavy metal, loading their mansion with more rusting metal than a scrap heap.
This guy that worked for us sent him out to a junkyard, bring back the loudest, biggest tin we can beat on, big pipes, big oil cans. I was playing a brake drum, there we are, just beating away on, junk, and it sounded awesome.
According to Chili lore, the wails of discarded steel that echoed through the haunted house aroused the residents.
Okay, you guys played it great, but Flea, split the difference here. Come in a little bit, okay?
And the boys insist that one ghost wanted in the picture.
There's a picture of us, and I think Anthony's kind of got John in the headlight or something, and I'm kind of looking off.
And this white, face appeared on the picture.
It looked an awful lot like somebody joined us for the picture.
As proof of their otherworldly encounters, the Peppers included the shot in the album sleeve.
We've always said that that's one of the ghosts.
Looking to hunt down the residents, the Chili Peppers summoned professional ghostbusters.
I swear to God, they got a coat hanger, took it out, and started like, woo, and we're just like, right.
Anytime they would move, they would up there. This is where it is. This is a hot spot.
This is it. This wrong energy. Yeah, this is it. That's the connection.
He goes into the room where I was going to stay, and he went into the bathroom, and I didn't say nothing to him about it.
No, all the way coming up here like a force pushing me to the right.
I was like, oh God, something really bad is happening here. And I was like, okay, I believe you. Yep, I was right. This is bad.
In the end, the band learned to live with their supernatural friends. Anthony, however, had some personal demons to confront. In the song, I Could Have Lied, he chronicled his short, bittersweet affair with Sinead O'Connor.
There must be something in the way I feel that she don't want me to feel.
One day, I think he just got a note that said, like, I'm leaving town, goodbye. And he was just really hurt by it, so we drove around together that day.
Showed her and I told her how she struck me, but I'm done now.
The situation of being in pain sort of transformed into the process of writing a song.
Could have lied, I'm such a fool. My eyes never keep their cool.
In all, the Chili's spent 8 weeks in the house, writing and recording Blood Sugar Sex Magik. 17 tracks, ranging from groove-laden funk to insightful ballads to blustering blues.
I've never taken anything so seriously in my life, and I've never been so proud of anything that I've ever done, because I've always felt like I was a failure, and now we've done something as a band of friends that I'm 100% proud of. The whole making of the record, just the whole living here at the house and making the record was the best time in my life. I couldn't imagine anything ever being better. I mean, really, I mean, it was, I can't now either. It was great. It was the greatest.
In June 1991, the Funky Monks reluctantly checked out of their haunted musical monastery.
So, it's a very sentimental time, but trying to be strong and just get my together. How am I going to do this?
Like gotta take it slow.
It had been 2 months since the Red Hot Chili Peppers entered the ghostly Hollywood mansion, and they'd left their mark on the historical house. They emerged from their creative cocoon with Blood Sugar Sex Magik, a 17-song collection that would redefine the band.
We didn't feel like we had to try to be any specific thing. We felt like anything goes, and, you know, this music is supposed to be about freedom. There's no limitation.
Blood Sugar Sex Magik was a daring leap forward for the Peppers, an album moulded from good vibes and a great setting. But the fireworks were few when it was released on the 24th of September 1991.
When we first started touring for Blood Sugar, we'd show up at these, ice skating rinks for whatever to play our concert, and they would be half full, or a third full.
We were touring our asses off, and it wasn't like we were that much bigger.
Sex Magik failed to make an immediate impression. Then the psychedelic video for Give It Away went into heavy rotation on MTV. Radio quickly followed suit.
All of a sudden it broke all at once. You were seeing these guys on the cover of every magazine. So we really started seeing it through sales and obviously requests.
Give it away now. now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. Give it away, give it away, give it away now. Rock this, tell them someone keep another bumper.
The Red Hot Chili Peppers had been giving it away to fans for 8 years. Now the masses were lining up to embrace them, much to the surprise of the band.
It was actually pretty shocking the first time that commercial success started to happen, because it was a very foreign thing to us. You know, we spent years and years in a blue Chevy van just kind of going on these road trips with our instruments, and didn't think anything was missing.
Give It Away raced to the top of the charts, and the Chili Peppers took to the road. On stage, the band gave out mighty performances for their wild fans.
Flea's just like, all over the place, and Anthony's running everywhere and jumping everywhere, and, the drummer's playing naked, standing up.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner.
In March 1992, the band released the album's second single, Under the Bridge. Suddenly, the album took off, selling as many as 100,000 copies a week.
I don't ever wanna feel like I did that day.
You're flipping around stations and you're hearing it on the top 40 station, on the alternative station, on the rock station, you're seeing it on MTV. All of a sudden the Chili Peppers are everywhere.
It just hit everybody. There was no denying it, I think, and they just couldn't get enough of it. So, just pure and simple, I think it was just almost like a perfect record.
That was like a commercial, like a song like what the Beatles would have wrote.
Take me away.
I remember getting a call from Lindy Getz, our beloved red-headed manager, and he said, "Ant, I got to tell you this, your record just went to number 8." And I dropped the phone. I'm like,
This is crazy. It was really insane.
People started to recognize me, and I'm the drummer in the band. And I'm usually in the back. Flattering, but it's kind of strange.
I go to a party, I go into the bathroom, and this kind of tipsy, straight-laced looking guy, sort of a, suit and tie kind of a guy, pulled up next to me at the other urinal, and he starts singing Under the Bridge to me, all loud and kind of, in that howling drunk guy style. And I'm like, wow, how is this possible?
In June 1992, Under the Bridge reached number 2, the album reaching number 3 in the US. Blood Sugar transformed the Chili's from cult fringe act into rock icons. It should have been the ultimate high, but untamed egos and lingering self-doubts would wreak their toll.
Suddenly the world is telling you, wow, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard. It kind of messes with your head.
When Blood Sugar became very successful was probably the unhappiest time of my life. I just hated touring. I wanted to go home. I was tense. I was miserable.
It turned me into an asshole, and I was forced to deal with that because I didn't like being an asshole. No matter how hard you try, you can't help but become a member of the acquired situational narcissism society.
Suck my kiss!
It was the first time in the history of the band that we all took individual hotel rooms rather than rooming with each other. Once we went on tour, everybody sort of got in their own world.
I can never change what I feel. My face will never show what is now real.
The success of Blood Sugar Sex Magik hit 22-year-old John Frusciante hardest. He was ill-prepared for fame.
When I was a little kid, I thought of myself as being in a band that made enough money to have an apartment and to eat and to buy records and stuff. Even when we were playing in the theaters, I thought that was too big.
He had already started to perhaps become disappointed in the way that he reacted to his first wave of popularity.
I was feeling further and further away from the feeling of what it had been here at the house.
I know that he was absolutely miserable on tour and hated it. There was very little understanding or camaraderie during when we were touring.
They hated listening to me, I hated listening to them.
After 8 months of touring, Frusciante snapped in May 1992. Before a packed show in Japan, he suddenly announced that he was leaving the group after that performance.
I felt like my guitar playing was becoming worse. I was feeling like I used to be a good guitarist and now I'm not anymore. It really felt like it was all the fates telling me to quit, and that's, for me, I know that to be the number one reason why I quit, was simply because there's voices in my head that I have to listen to.
With a full schedule of gigs, the Chili's quickly recruited guitarist Eric Marshall.
God bless Eric Marshall for being there for us when we desperately needed him to be there for us. You know, he came in and kind of saved the day for us and gave us the chance to go out on that tour.
I thought we did a good job, but it was kind of fractured for us.
The reason that we were there was based on something we had accomplished with John. And the fact that we went on that tour and he wasn't in the band, it was a bittersweet experience.
But Blood Sugar Sex Magik was the boon that sent the Red Hot Chili Peppers into rock history. Success, though, came at a price. John Frusciante was lost in his private hell, and it seemed that nothing could motivate a change. It would be 6 years before he'd return.
It's almost like you can create so much insanity in your life before it catches up and just destroys you, you know?
The acclaim that accompanied Blood Sugar Sex Magik may have rattled the band, but the album made a lasting impact on the music industry.
On this particular album, they really sort of managed to capture what is now called rap rock.
That was that next step that they knew that they had to cut across. Not just the rap vocals, but just the way that you could bring a rhythmic vocal across, as opposed to solely just singing. Chili Peppers took that bold step into that world.
All these bands, Limp Bizkit and Sublime, and any of these bands today that are doing this sort of alternative music, it all comes from the Chili Peppers.
With Blood Sugar Sex Magik, the Chili's had found their sound, and the public embraced their musical evolution.
That was a real turning point for us as far as being songwriters and better musicians.
It's a watermark achievement for a band who found that moment in 1991 where they could look within themselves and create music that reflected what was going on in the culture.
That's what was important. Right place, right time, right.
Blood Sugar Sex Magik remains as potent today as it was in 1991, reverberating through a haunted Hollywood mansion.
Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner.
I used to listen to the songs on that record and say, I would love to write something like this. I still turn to that album plenty of times to try to find inspiration.
If you ask somebody about that album, nobody can tell what year it came out. It's just timeless, truly timeless.
To date, Blood Sugar Sex Magik has sold more than 9 million copies worldwide. To their legion of fans, the album will always be a classic. To the band, it's a testament and tribute to their enduring friendship.
I I think of our brotherhood first and foremost. I don't think about the effect that it had on the world or the popularity that it attained or anything like that. I think about the love that we had as a band together. It's definitely, what sticks in my mind and in my heart. The experience of doing it, not the aftermath of what it created.